We can bring the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. First order of business is to announce that our meeting is being taped by Area 58. Next would be, if you join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is the agenda. Any comments or changes to the agenda? Looks good. I just wanted to, we talked about this off the record a minute ago, but in terms of the Selectmen's Road Show, you gonna update us on that tonight?
We can, yeah, we can.
So I would just add just a brief update on our schedule for the road show. Okay, anything else for the agenda?
Looks great.
All right. Motion to approve?
Second.
Any,
Did you make a motion or you
I did,
entertained it?
yes.
Yeah, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, bills?
Move to front approval of following warrants and commitments. Withholding warrant number 95 for $136,414.49. Vendor warrant number 96 for $95,307.45. Ambulance commitments from April 3rd, 2023 to April 9th, 2023 for $41,495.07. Ambulance commitment from April 10th, 2023 to April 16th, 2023, $39,383.50.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Move to approve from following warrants. Payroll warrant number 97 for $401,095.48. Vendor warrant number 98 for $89,974.89. Withholding warrants number 99 for $135,705.03.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Bills?
Move to approve payments of phone selecting bills. Comcast for $955. Harry B. Harding and Son Incorporated for $1,523.20. National Grid for $1,068.07. And WB Mason for $11.01. Big one. And Stryker Sales LLC for $18,994.38.
So move second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, we have 15 minutes before any discussion. Do you want to take something out of order? Oh, okay, all right. So I had asked just for a brief update on our, what I call our road show. So we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, trying to move the selectmen's meetings at least every couple of months to a different building so that we can kind of get a different feel for things and have on TV show some of the other buildings in town, including the library, the council on aging, recycling, and so on. So how's that going?
Good. I mentioned it at one of our department head meetings. I think department heads were excited about this opportunity. I have regular meetings one-on-one with all of our department heads, so as I meet with them, we'll come up with proposed schedules for what dates work for each facility in each department, and hopefully I'll have a proposed schedule for you at your next meeting.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so on our list of things to do here, we have Fieldstone Farm shows. Now, is this usually we have to, is this just for advising us or are we moving?
It is. This is just I'm advising you of the dates of the shows for the upcoming season. There's several here. We received one or two inquiries from the public and some neighbors about this, so we thought it would be a good idea just to have it before you guys in the meeting to let you know what the dates would be and any questions that you may have about the shows.
I don't have any questions. I don't know if anyone else does.
I just remember last year with the previous board, I think this came up around this time last year, and I know residents were a little concerned about noise and speakers and amplification. And I think I recall last year that the folks were making a conscious effort to turn the speakers away from the homes and only do it during performance, during the show time. So as long as they're still doing that and making a conscious effort. We have somebody here?
Mr. Clausen.
Oh, hey, Mr. Clausen, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. So,
Just in time.
if you could just introduce yourself for the record.
Scott Clausen,
Okay.
21 Plymouth Street, Halifax.
Awesome. So, Scott, I remember last year when you started up, you had a couple folks that were just a little concerned about noise. So, I remember last year you folks were saying you were making a conscious effort to aim the noise differently and set it at a certain level. So, you want to update us on that?
Well, we constantly try to keep the noise to a minimum. There's 2 or 3 announces systems. Sometimes someone talks a little louder than the last person that was there.
Sure.
And we constantly have to adjust it to keep the noise down.
Sure.
Up at my house, I don't like to hear the noise either, and I'm there all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm on the radio all the time with them. We did change out a bunch of speakers last year, but they didn't throw so far as far as the sound goes. So we're going to go with that same system this year and just continuously working on the sound.
Awesome.
I'm very well aware of one of the neighbors, and tried to work with her. And,
Great.
So,
I appreciate that. Appreciate the efforts. Yeah.
thank you.
This show's been going on for 30 years, 40 years maybe?
A while.
At least
35 years, yes.
35 years, so it's an annual event. That's a good thing. Okay, so we don't need to take any action on it? All right.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we have a live entertainment permit request for the Connecting Rods Cruise Night at the Walmart on Route 106, Friday nights from May 5th until October 6th, 3 to 7 p.m. It's been looked at by Police, Fire, and Board of Health, and they all okay it. So we have a motion to approve the live entertainment permit.
So moved.
Any, do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Oh, okay.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right, next up is vacation request carryover. Pam McSherry wants to carry over 90 days from the prior vacation due to staffing. 90 days.
We're not doing 90 minutes.
Sorry about that. 90 hours, thank you. All right. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to allow Pam McSherry to carry over 90 hours of vacation due to staffing shortages, and would like to thank her for stepping up during last year's unusual circumstances.
Well, I agree with that 100%. Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Ambulance abatements, why are these here? August 2022? Oh, that's why.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is
All
that-
right, all right.
Oh,
Just
that very well, double check on that.
the one from March of 2023, it's 110,000.
So August of 2022, no?
No, that should be in there, it's 2 over there. It might have been just a typo.
Yeah, August 2022.
Okay, is there, so these are,
Okay, should I just,
these are delayed because of whatever? I'm assuming because of whatever was going on in the administration. Okay, so we have a request for an ambulance abatement, August of 2022, for $100,576.25. So I move that we abate that amount.
Second, I can just take a
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. All right. Next, we have a request for ambulance abatement for March of 2023, $110,024.80. So I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous, if you want to look at it.
Yep.
Memorandum of agreement, Bud?
Yes, so this has previously been discussed in executive session as a result of implementing body cameras We did some impact bargaining with our police unions. We reached this memorandum of agreement between, this one is between the town and the sergeants. So you would just need to formally vote to accept this. The one between patrol will be before you next week. They've already signed it. It just didn't make it.
All right, I was involved in this, so I will make the motion that we accept the memorandum of agreement relating to the body cameras.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay. You folks ready for yours?
Sure. We're ready.
Okay, all right. Why don't we skip ahead, or we'll go back? Where are we? We're skipping ahead somewhere here.
Yeah.
So Thorndike Development update. So I know you have another appointment, so
We do, thank
we
you
can
so much.
squeeze
I
you in.
apologize for being a little late.
It's
An
okay.
hour and a half drive.
You mean you got stuck in that traffic on Route 106 like we do every day?
Well, 106 was actually relief compared to what it was like on 95.
Oh, I'm sure. So this is an update on the proposed 55-year-old plus plan, or over 55-year-old housing plan off on Route 58.
Yes, thank you. So.
You might want to stand on this side
Yes.
so that the cameras and the audience can see what you're doing here. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, for the record, my name is Lloyd Geisinger, President of Thorndike Development, my partner Dave Eastridge, also Thorndike. To refresh, we were here a month ago or thereabouts, talking about a alternate plan for 265 and 266 Monponsa Street, in which we were discussing the possibility of doing an over 55 community, as well as working with the town to build a senior center on the portion of the property. Since then, we've put a plan together, and we met with Cody and Darlene yesterday, and to have a preliminary discussion. We also developed some very preliminary plans for the senior center, which we'll present as well. I'm going to turn it over to Dave, who will walk you through the site plan, and then I'll talk about the senior center.
Thank you.
Sure, so it's, as Lloyd mentioned, we have 265 Monponsa and 266 Monponsa. So kind of two pieces of land. We're proposing to split 265 Monponsa into two different lots. Lot number 1 would be deeded to the town, and that would be the location of the future senior center. Lot number 2 would have the rest of kind of our residential development. So the residential development is comprised of these 3 buildings. One building on 266 and 2 buildings on 265. This building has 30 units. They're all 3 stories tall, elevator, central corridor. So this has 30 units. These other 2 buildings have 36 units each. So a total of 102 between the two sites. So kind of stepping back a little bit on process. In order for this to go forward, we would be seeking to go to a town meeting process. And at that town meeting, we would be seeking that over 55 become an approved use within a commercial district. So this site is currently zoned commercial. This lot is not. So we would also be seeking that 265 be zoned commercial. It's contiguous with other commercial lots, so it's not considered spot zoning or anything like that. Those are the 2 kind of major components that we would be seeking through town meeting. So change of zoning type to commercial here, and then allowing over 55 to be an allowed use within a commercial district. So in terms of the site layout itself, so we have our main entrance here. Right now, as you know, this was partially developed back in 2015, and there's an existing curb cut approximately here. So this shifts it a little bit towards the main intersection or towards the north. So this would be basically a shared access drive for our community as well as the senior center. The senior center would have its own kind of separate driveway here opposite what is it, Shelby Plaza located here. So this would be shared. So we would come in and we would have a central green, our 2 buildings flanking that, Victory Gardens located here, a pool house, and a pool. So all of these elements would be private for the residents. The pickleball court shown here, all of this parking, the senior center would be public for the entire town. This central green and the Victory Gardens are really kind of signature elements of Thorndike communities. I think they've been in probably 80-90% of the communities that we built. Very successful. It provides a nice view and nice open space and the like. And these community gardens are extremely popular. A lot of folks will move into an over 55 community. They'll be leaving their larger home. They're used to doing some gardening in the backyard, and this way they can still kind of satisfy their green thumb while not having to maintain a larger piece of land. Let's see, that's really the gist of it. We have ample parking provided for the homes. It's north of 1.8 units per, spaces per unit. So we found that something in the 1.5, 1.6 range is perfectly adequate for development of this type. So that's a number that kind of applies to the combination of this and this. Dedicated for the senior center and secondary for the pickleball courts, we have about 80 parking spaces located here. And the senior center is about 4,200 square feet in total. I think that covers the site, so Lloyd's going to speak a little bit.
Can I just ask you one question before we go? The buffer between your site and Lyden Lane condominiums, is that, what are you thinking about doing? And I know it's a little bit early, but are you thinking about some sort of either space or plantings?
Well, so for the residential community, really the existing woods kind of takes care of that issue. This is substantial vegetation to remain. There's a wetland area located here that's kind of surrounded by the woods. So this clear line kind of around here is already existing and out there. So you'll kind of see, because all this area, this clear line that's proposed is very similar to what's already been done. So very little additional clearing, kind of maybe a little bit in this corner, a little bit in that corner, but that's about it. So what's there today is gonna stay in this area. Now in terms of this edge, so again, we haven't gotten to that level of detail in our landscaping plans, but we're perfectly amenable to vegetation and a fence and that sort of thing. I think a fence would be appropriate, along that edge, but we haven't gotten to that level of detail in our, landscaping plans. This is really trying to get kind of buy-in for the overall concept at this point.
Okay. You'll take questions from the crowd here?
Sure.
Any questions? Yes, sir. Just identify yourself for the record.
Bill Pond, 40 Oak Place.
Thank you.
Are you paying for the senior center to be built?
It's shared is our current proposal. So we're going to put together, again, this is a very, very preliminary, proposal that you're seeing here today. So based on feedback that we get tonight, that we're going to go back and put together a detailed proposal that will include the financing aspects of that. But we are contributing towards the construction of that senior center substantially, based on current discussions. So it's not just donating the land.
Anyone else have any questions? Yes?
Mary Gravenese, 98 Clyde, Bosworth. Have you built any buildings like this where it's attached to a structure that is used by the public for people who are going to own? Those aren't inexpensive homes. They're, you said, between $400,000 and $500,000 for each unit. So does anybody have any issue with having a public senior structure like in front of that?
I can only say it would be a benefit. This is an over 55 community that would be filled with seniors that has a public amenity within walking distance. So it's kind of a win-win. It's a positive for our community, and it allows us, with this, compared with our previous proposal, this has only 2 buildings on this parcel as opposed to 4 buildings. So that allowed us to open up land and make it available, for this. So when we were talking about this concept of an over 55 community, we were told that a senior center, in the town of Halifax was something that was being discussed. There are some preliminary plans. There's, some funds that may be allocatable for a senior center. And we thought, well, we can help make this happen and probably make it a better facility that you would otherwise have in town.
And is this project tied in any way, shape, or form to the situation that is proposed to be built by the MBTA station? No, standalone? No, nothing?
Yeah, no, this is not linked. We have, full disclosure, we have been, we've talked to the landowner over there, but these projects are not linked, and this is completely separate, so we're aware of it, but we have no proposal to do anything over at the MBTA.
Okay, anybody from the board have any questions?
I just had a couple. So I know you folks have presented a similar type plan with the previous administration for 55 plus. Other than the senior center area, what are the major differences between that original plan that you folks brought, I don't know, it was last year or the year before, to this one? As far as maybe numbers or setup or anything like that?
So one that was a 40B, so it had 25% affordable.
Oh, I mean in previous, I believe Thorndike might have floated
Developments elsewhere.
No, to that.
The original townhouse plan.
Oh, the original, okay, going way back when.
Way back when, yeah.
Yes, okay, so the previous approved plan for this site was 26 townhomes, and they were grouped in, I think it was 6 buildings or so. And there's actually a foundation that was started here.
Sure.
And it, the partners had a falling out, and that kind of, killed the project at the time.
Not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but I thought that you folks might have brought something to our town previously that was a 55 plus plan. I don't know if that was officially had legs or what that was.
When we first looked at the property,
Yeah.
we had a conversation about taking the approved 26-unit plan
Yeah.
and converting it to an over 55, so age restricted. But that never went anywhere. But we did have an informal conversation, actually 2 conversations in this room. We also have a plan of the proposed senior center, which we haven't presented yet.
Do anybody have any questions on this before you? Yeah, Frank?
We'll be right here, so
Okay. All right,
one of us can answer.
we'll hold the question. We'll see.
Frank Johnston, 257 Elm Street, Halifax. The money we set aside last year at town meeting for the senior center, would that money be able to be used in conjunction with
That's the
this?
point. I think that's the plan.
That's the kind of the plan? Yeah.
I don't think it's gotten quite that far yet, but in terms of the general discussion, what I understand is there would be we'd essentially be buying this back. And that's the funds we'd probably be using.
Thank you.
I just wanted to mention one thing. Johnny Reagan, COA Director. In your plans, you had mentioned that the fact that the building itself, the COA, potential COA, would be at the front entranceway. So to have any issues with, the residents going in and out and so on, it wasn't going to be an issue. And in terms of the financing, I mean, we are in a position right now, the town itself, that we are not able to fund a full 4 million, 3 million, up to like whatever it could be to renovate a building. You know that when you take down a structure or one wall, something else is there. So this is a proposal that's come up, and all the pieces seem to fit. I mean, nothing's a perfect storm. We hope that it's going to bring longevity to this community. It's going to bring a lot of options, in terms of, yes, there'll be 55 and older people that may be able to access certainly the pickleball area. But I think overall, I said, the other plan for renovating the museum was an option. And, this came forth, and we have to go with the culture of the town. And this is what we can afford to, and it's going to serve enough of the population here, and not just a retirement community. Right now, we service the majority of them at Halifax Mobile Estates. They come up and utilize our space often. So we try to, reach out to the other people that live within the community, and that's really important. We have to offer more programs. So I'm hoping that, it looks, I just wanted to point out the fact where it's going to be located. It's not going to be embedded into the community itself, but up front.
So let me, if I could, just walk you through. We've had several meetings with Darlene and Cody to talk about the program for the space, and I'll call it just pure luck, but we built a clubhouse at the back of College Place in Plymouth at our Sawyer's Reach over 55 community. And when we started listening to the program from Darlene, I realized that that building could be a very, very good proxy and a good starting point for taking this building. And as we got into it a little bit more, we realized that it seemed like it would work pretty well. So this plan, as it sits here on the site, is intended to essentially have two different points of entry. Point of entry off of this parking lot here for the health services and the types of activities that Darlene does in support of seniors. And then a second entrance for activities in the larger building. And so with that in mind, let me show you the plan that we came up with, and I'm gonna actually turn it so that the plan actually sits like this. So this door here onto this parking lot is this door here.
Lloyd, if you can angle it a little bit that way, because our camera's over there. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so again, there's a parking lot over here for the services and the activity parking lot over here. And the way that, and this is 4,200 square feet, all on one floor. People looking for various senior needs would come through this door. The director's office sits here, two other offices, healthcare space, which could be a flex space for some other uses as well, reception area, storage, mechanical, and a bathroom. And then a passageway here into the main building, which could be locked. So if there are different hours going on, if this main building's closed, or vice versa, this is an opportunity to close that door and keep it separate. In terms of the main building itself, coming in the front door, there's an entry vestibule and a place for coats when there are large functions. Darlene talked about having various types of activities and potentially renting out the space as well for various types of uses. This is the main function space, which can be divided in half with an accordion wall, making it into two spaces. There's a galley kitchen. Darlene was talking about preparing meals on wheels and that whole service. So this whole kitchen has direct entrance to the other parking lot, which if we look at the plan, it's this main parking lot over here and the door over here. So that door is this door. So if there's that type of activity going on, there's an easy access back and forth. But at the same time, the kitchen is designed and laid out so that if this is divided, you can get access from the kitchen to either side if there's a kitchen function needed. Men's and women's bathrooms, various utilities, and then we have what we've labeled as a card room, but of course anything can go on in there. I haven't played a lot of bridge, so I wanted to call it a bridge card room, but anyway. And then we've shown the library here as well, which I think would be a terrific amenity for seniors. It could be a shared book type of thing. And again, it's another space so that we have spaces of different sizes, you know, the smallest, a little bit larger, the biggest, which can get broken down to half, so multiple activities can go on at the same time. This whole large space then opens out onto a outdoor space, which on this plan is shown here. So there will be an outdoor space as well. And this footprint is exactly the same as the clubhouse at Sawyer's Reach. So if you want to take a drive-by and take a look at it at the back of Colony Place, the only difference between that building and this building, the only difference in terms of the size of it, is there's a breezeway that separates the main building from this building. In the Colony Place clubhouse, this is actually a fitness center, which is separated, and for similar reasons in the sense that we wanted to be able to have that open more hours than the main building, so it's pulled apart so you can lock one or the other. We just took that and squished it up against this building, so you didn't have to go outdoors to get from one space to the other. So we have not done a complete budget on this yet, but we have, 2 years ago, built a building that's the same size. One of the nice things about being able to draw on those plans is that all of the little things that you tend to leave out at the beginning, like a sprinkler room, like various seismic rooms, they're all already in here. So we do know how much that building cost us, and extrapolating it forward, and obviously the spec would be very different here, but we suspect that this and the parking lot and my partner who's not here tonight, who runs our budget, is going to shoot me for saying a number here.
But go for it, go ahead.
But he's playing golf in Ireland. So he's lost all his rights.
We won't tell him.
He's waived any objections.
We think that this whole package will cost us between $2.5 and $3 million. Keeping in mind that we expect to already have a superintendent on site, there are a lot of shared costs that we can do. We already have architectural plans for the building. And our thought was that we would split that cost with the town, capping your share at $1.2 million. And so how exactly that would be worked, obviously, this needs a lot of work. Cody and I started talking about this a little bit yesterday. My thought, at least, was that when we have detailed plans and everything's completed, the town could order an appraisal, an independent appraiser coming up with the value of the building. And because I'm sure our thought is that we would make sure that we're at least contributing 50% of the cost, but yours would be capped at 1.2. So if it's 2.7 in total, you still pay 1.2. But if it was less than 2.4, which I don't think is going to happen, then you wouldn't pay 1.2, you'd pay 50%.
Lloyd, does that include the price of the land as well?
Everything. And we take all the risk, so any cost overruns, your number would be locked in. We design it, you approve it, you inspect it as it goes along, it's 100% complete. We hand you the keys, and it's not a gift at that point, but it's a transfer of title. That got some questions.
Let me control this a little bit. So, Jean, go ahead. Just again, identify yourself for the audience.
Jean Gallant, Cranberry Drive. My first question, okay, is there a kitchen in there?
Yes.
The kitchen, I didn't hear that. The
I'm
kitchen
sorry,
part.
A galley kitchen, Jean.
kitchen right here, big kitchen.
Oh, great.
Right here.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah.
Love it. And my other question is about, probably for the selectmen, like approval, town meeting approval. Do they have to go before any other boards? Are we going to town meeting
We
for
are
this?
in preliminary stage, so we don't know
Right.
all those details, but I think it was in the original presentation that they were looking for a zoning change at least
Right.
on the bigger piece of property from...
Is that town meeting or?
That would be a town meeting vote, yeah.
okay.
We'd have to go through the process of, going to the planning board and everybody who has to have their say on it. And then a change in the bylaw to put this over 55 in the commercial zone. So there'd be two changes that they're looking for that. The rest of the approvals, would just be through the planning board, the normal processes, that kind of thing.
So the whole project doesn't really have to go before town meeting?
Well, I don't know exactly, because we have the
The
money.
project itself wouldn't
Yeah,
go for it.
we do have the money,
We just need
so-
the zoning changes.
But I think we would do, what I know we would do, would probably hold a lot of public hearings on it, because we want to make sure, everybody knows what's going on, so. Chris, you just again tell us.
Chris Winowitz, 129 Circuit Street. Maybe Darlene can answer the housing authority right down the street. Are there many seniors there? And if so, would there be any pathway or sidewalk, just since it's next door?
That's a better question for Lloyd and
Yeah, we're 100% on board for a sidewalk. We would like to build, and we would expect to build a sidewalk all the way up to, the intersection. And so this is the housing authority piece right now, and yes, we would absolutely expect to build a sidewalk, so, for safe passage up to the senior center.
My one other question, the size of the building, would that give many years of use before I outgrown it? Expected growth of the town, or?
It's larger than the building that we had initially
Okay.
proposed.
Mary was next.
Mary Gravity's 98 Clyde Bosworth Road. So would the town, once it's turned over, the town will maintain it, maintain the grounds, the parking lot, the shoveling, plowing, all that? That
Yes.
will become our, but not the over 55 part?
Correct.
Okay, so like kind of in the middle, that would be a property management company would take care of that? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir?
What's the exterior of the senior center? I see all the interior stuff.
Well, that's the next step. So we would come back, and on our next presentation, we'll have exterior elevations of the building and specifications.
Nothing that you've thought of in particular?
I think that where the town will be maintaining the building, I think it's a conversation we need to have first with whoever would be responsible for maintaining it and whatnot. The two logical options would be hardy plank, which is like clapboard, but a cementitious product, which stands up very well, and vinyl, which can be done in a much more attractive way than it used to be. And we do a lot of vinyl as well, but in a very, very high quality way. The hardy plank, of course, requires painting periodically, and vinyl does not. So that's the type of conversation we need to have about specifications. I have, excuse me, if I could just, I have one other thing I want to get. I don't know, Cody, if you passed out this. So we have a fiscal impact professional who happens to be working with us on a project we're doing in Kingston. And he is one of the leaders in the field. And we asked him to do a fiscal impact review of this project, which he did. Craig Seymour started RKG Associates, which is considered the premier physical impact company in New England. He's now retired, but for some of his friends who have done business with him for 25 years, he still will take on a project now and then. So I don't expect you to read this right now, and we sent this to Cody electronically. But obviously, as a senior housing project where we're doing our own maintenance and where there would be a restriction against school-aged children, and where these are relatively expensive condominiums, the impacts to the town budget, based on Craig's analysis here, are quite positive. And the bottom line here is that he expects that this would have a net positive after costs of about $450,000 a year in additional real estate taxes. And he explains his rationale here, and we're happy to make him available to come in at a future meeting and make a full presentation. There are all sorts of charts and documents behind this. Cody was kind enough to provide him with some information. I wanted to share that with you.
So this report will be on our website, or at least available if anybody really wants to take a look at it, just contact me.
Is that based on 100% occupancy of all those buildings?
Yes,
Numbers?
these are condominiums. So the condominiums will be assessed individually, and those condominiums, whether they're vacant or not, will have to pay taxes. So, yes, they'll get built. If we deliver one unit in one building, we wind up having to pay real estate taxes on all the units, whether we own it or someone else owns it.
Does anyone else have any questions from the board?
Just, and maybe where this is cart before the horse, but let's say we go down the road with this and our zoning board has some major issues with certain variances or whatever we need. Where do we go from there? You know, that's my question.
Well, we would hope and expect that as we package up the new zoning bylaw for town meeting vote, that it would allow us, it would include what we need in order to build this building.
It's almost inevitable, even though what we're seeking at town meeting is, let's say, generic. You know, changing the bylaw to allow over 55 or housing for the elderly, as it's usually called. in a commercial zone and rezoning of one parcel. This project will be the context inevitably for those discussions. And I think through that, the details of this will also, be presented. And, it's on us to make sure that this is a buildable project as we put forth the effort to go through town meeting and design the senior center and that sort of thing. But, again, we would expect a very cooperative process. This is something I think would be excellent for the town and excellent for us.
We would not expect to have to go before the ZBA. Is the bottom line.
Okay.
We would make sure, working with Cody, that the particulars of the bylaw would allow what you see here to get built. And there really isn't anything particularly onerous in terms of setbacks or that type of thing.
Yeah, the only thing I was thinking is the 3 stories.
Well, the 3 stories would need to be part of that zoning change. That would allow in a commercial use for an over 55 use in a commercial zone that would allow a certain height that would be different from other height.
Okay.
Sorry.
We have one here who hasn't, you have to tell us your name, please.
Yep, Erica Rossini, 60 Run Road.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. I know that prior to this proposal, the proposal was a 40B project.
Yes.
So now we're adding 105,
102.
new housing units to the town. What does that do? Do we get penalized because now our number is even more off as far as
You mean on the 40B issue?
With the state, I thought that.
We're way out of line on that as it is, so it doesn't help
Yeah,
us.
you don't get penalized, you're just susceptible to future 40Bs,
In other words,
which we already are. We're already susceptible to 40Bs.
So I can actually, if I
Sure.
may, since unfortunately I'm an expert in this stuff. So the way the comprehensive permit statute in Massachusetts works is there is a census done every 10 years of all towns, which establishes the number of households in that town for that census. And I don't remember what Halifax's is. It's 4,500 or?
I think maybe a little less than that.
Okay, so whatever the number is, let's just say that, let's just use an arbitrary number and say it was 3,000, which I know wasn't, in 2010. And now there was a census done in 2020, and those census numbers are about to come out actually next month, if the state actually releases them when they say they're going to. And whatever that number is, if the 3,000 went to 3,500, and again, those are just fictitious numbers, then that becomes the benchmark for needing to have 10% housing to be able to not be susceptible to a 40B application for the next 10 years. And then that number is reset again in 2030. So adding 102 residential units here, while it's not helping, since it's not a 40B and there's not an affordable component, it's not improving your percentage. It's also not making it any worse until 2030, when it will come into play, and at which point, if nothing else has changed, you would be required to have 10 additional affordable units beyond what you have right now as a result of this 102.
I had the same question as Eric. I was
Okay.
just wondering about that.
Do we have any other, yes, ma'am.
Patty Sullivan, 815 Lyden Lane. The building with the 30 apartments, are any of those apartments going to be designated as affordable housing?
No.
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 These are condominiums.
These are condominiums, they're not apartments. But you could still designate condominiums as affordable. So your question is certainly appropriate. We cannot both do the senior center and allocate for affordable. And frankly, affordable units with senior housing is very challenging in Massachusetts. The way the statute was crafted, it's very, very hard to find, for sale units I'm talking about, it's very hard to find qualified individuals who, to purchase over 55 affordable units because of the way the state crafted the statute. The affordability is really oriented towards non-age restricted, both for sale and rental. So it's very difficult to do. It's not something that we would entertain. We would not do the project under that circumstance.
It was just my understanding that in the building across the street that
Yes.
that stands by itself with the 30 units in it.
Yes,
Are they also going to be condominiums?
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
I had originally thought those were going to be rentals.
Well, they were originally, but when we switched to this plan,
Okay.
they would now be for sale
All right.
as well.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we have a lot of appointments, so maybe Chris will be the last question.
Depending how the bylaw would be reworded to allow the three-story building, would that be tied just to that area, or would it open the door to anywhere else in town now the buildings allowed to be 3 stories now?
We would likely craft it so it would be just for the project within this
So if
jurisdiction.
another project came up, you'd have to go through a process to see if it would be allowed? or-
Well, if it met the same parameters, so for instance, if it were in the commercial zone, and if it were an elderly or 55 plus, then it would fall under the same category as this one. But it wouldn't open it up to any development in town.
If someone were to propose a over 55 project that was not in a commercial zone, then the way this bylaw would be written, it wouldn't apply. So you wouldn't be able to build 3 stories, unless, of course, the town decided that it wanted to. But otherwise, it would be specific to the commercial zone.
Okay, thank you. I'm very enthusiastic personally. I think this sounds, every time I hear about it, it sounds better and better to me. So I really do appreciate your work that you're doing on it. And I mean, I don't know how the board feels about it or the town, but I personally do think that this is the right thing to do for that property, so
Well,
I'm
thank
happy
you for
about
that
that.
feedback.
So-
So what I would like to suggest, and what Cody and I discussed yesterday, is at this point, we'll put a fairly detailed proposal together and lay out all the steps. We also have an attorney, his name is Matt Lawler at Robinson & Cole. He's a land use zoning expert. And what I would propose is that he could take a crack at a first draft, again, we'll meet with Cody, as to what this bylaw might look like, so we can start to put some meat on the bones. And that would be part of the proposal that we would put back to you.
Fantastic.
All right?
All right, very good. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Larry.
Appreciate your efforts in this.
Thank you.
All right, so we're a little bit behind, I apologize for that, but let me jump right into our appointments. Isabel Rose, Generations Use of Town Green. Ms. Rose.
Hello, Isabella Rose, President of Generation on Ponset Street.
You might want to talk just a little bit louder so we can all hear you.
Generations, in support of the Halifax COA, would like to have their first fundraiser since 2019 for Festival 2023. On Sunday, June 4th, from 12 to 4, the Halifax Town Green. We would charge a $5 per dog fee, a vendor fee, and I also gave a tentative schedule. I've been in touch with the Board of Health, and I've also reached out to Animal Control to see if they need to be there. The Sheriff's Department will be there doing a canine unit demo. And right now, we just have 3 vendors with more coming on board.
All right. Do they have a live entertainment permit?
We haven't
Looking for
applied for
live-
that yet. Not yet.
All right, so do you want us to do anything with this, or just, we're just, let us know?
Just use the town green.
Oh, use of the town green, okay, all right. Anything else you want to tell us about it? No?
We have everyone's excited to have one at Generations because they haven't done a fundraiser in a long time. So we're going to have like a costume parade. We're hoping that the Board of Health can also have the rabies clinic that day as well to combine everything. We'll have a blessing of the dogs with Pastor Sarah from Rainham. And
Doggy ice cream.
the doggy ice cream truck will be there.
Can't forget that.
All right, any questions from the board?
Oh, it sounds adorable.
And Generations will also like sell hot dogs and stuff too.
A couple of what?
We'll sell hot dogs and stuff too.
Hot dogs? You can
Hot
sell
dogs.
hot dogs at the dog show?
Hot dogs and hot dogs. Yes.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve use of the town green Sunday, June 4th from 12 to 4 for the Fur Festival?
So moved.
There's a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. So you do, if you do want to have the DJ Rick Darling, you need to ask for a live entertainment permit.
Okay.
Do they need a Sunday permit? No, I don't think so.
So you would
Just a
ask
live
for that, or you
entertainment.
would-
Yeah. So just see Pam. She'll tell you how to fill it out, and then we'll just deal with it. But if you have amplified music, you're supposed to do that.
June 4th.
12 p.m. to 12 p.m.
Very good.
Thank you.
Sounds like
Thank
fun.
you.
Hope you have good weather.
Thanks
You
for your
too.
work.
Thank you.
All right, at 6:30, the VFW Field of Flags on Town Green. Is anyone here for that?
Yes, good evening. Bruce Thomas,
Hi.
CFW, Post 6258, Halifax.
Sure.
As most of you know, in the past, we've used the front of the town hall, the green, to erect the field of flags. And we're just requesting permission to do that again this year. It'll be May 13th to June 3rd. We provide the flags, we provide the manpower, we put it up, we take it down. Very tasteful, same as last year, nothing extra.
I think it's a wonderful thing, so I thank you for doing it. It's nice to acknowledge it, and it's a beautiful sight for us driving down the street there, so.
Great.
I'll make a motion that we approve Town Green for that purpose.
And I will second it.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Just that,
Oh,
You're gonna take it down?
Take it down June 3rd.
That was
Third. Yeah, Saturday.
That was June.
the dog will be there the 4th, so.
But that is the first.
We'll have it down.
Before the dogs start.
We'll have them down.
Other than maybe bring back.
All right.
Sarah, just what you have, just to tell us
My
your
name
name.
is Sarah Sloat. I'm from 36 Second Avenue in Halifax. That is the second Halifax Farmers Market that we're going to have on that Saturday. And that will be at the Town Green also. So
Oh,
I don't
June
know
3rd?
How it connects with what he is going to be doing.
Field of Flags is usually up in the front here.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm not sure that it's going to interfere.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
We should be fine. It's like 6 or 8 of us that set it up, so we're not even gonna take up a whole lot of space.
No, I don't want to say that.
Oh, yeah, no.
You know,
Okay.
Saw it last year.
All right. I think we can, I mean, there are two
It's just-
excellent
that's
events.
all I'm
There are
just-
two excellent events, and I'm sure we can coordinate,
yeah.
3 excellent events, actually. It'd be a busy weekend.
It is. It's gonna be fine.
All right, all those in favor of the Field of Flags, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you again.
Thank
That's a
you.
marvelous
Thank you.
thing. We appreciate it. Okay, 6:45's Mr. King, live entertainment for the farmer's market. There you are.
Good evening.
So we have a live entertainment permit. The event's dates would be May 20th, June 3rd, June 10th, June 24th, July 1st, 15th, 29th, August 12th, 26th, September 2nd, September 6th, September 30th, October 14th, and October 28th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. They already have permission to use the property. Country music, and it's been okayed by all of the police, fire, and board of health. So, we have a motion?
Motion to accept.
All right. Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and thanks again for doing it. That's, again, a very marvelous. Do you like to see these things in town, as opposed to some of the problems we run sometimes? These are such positive things that I wish we could just talk about those sometimes. Okay, all right, so going back to our agenda. We are at the point of Board of Selectmen nominee to Old Colony Elder Services.
So right now, Mr. Seelig is the representative. Darlene Reagan, our Council on Aging Director, is unfortunately ineligible because she's a former employee, and their bylaws do not allow former employees to serve on
So we have to have 2 selectmen do it?
No, we have to have one representative. I think it's very in-depth. They speak really on Council on Aging and senior initiatives. So, the idea would be to have somebody who is in it and, understands it. I think Mr. Seelig's been going, but he'd like to find somebody else who is a benefit.
I'll speak. I'm here.
So you don't want to do it? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think it's in Halifax's best interest to have me on this board, I'll be quite frank. It's me and a bunch of COA directors that speak COA language. And I'm doing my best to try to absorb as much as I can. But I just think it would be better for the town of Halifax to have somebody that's got their sleeves rolled up and is in it in a more, in a more day-to-day, in and out kind of process.
Does it have to be one of us?
No, it traditionally isn't a selectman.
Oh, all right. Darlene, you have a suggestion?
Go ahead.
You
Yes,
can
so,
solve our problem for us, because if he doesn't take it, the most logical choice being elderly.
Definitely
What's
not
looking
me.
your way, John?
The whole table just
Take your
I know.
So actually, the board itself it's really, it's every year they have a nominee, from each town that should come to represent the COA and also any of the projects that are going on at Old Colony Elder Services. It's closed meeting, not open, so I couldn't just sit in, unfortunately. So it would make sense to have someone that's knowledgeable in some type of services that we're providing here in the community, to know the culture of the community, and to bring it back to OCES and discuss any kind of issues or discuss any possible programs that could be initiated. So it's a win-win in terms of picking someone, choosing a nominee. It doesn't mean that if I suggest a couple of people, actually one person, they will accept it, they may reject it, and then we'll have to start all over again. There was, we did consider one person, but she notified me today that she wouldn't be able to do that. There is another option, and I want to confirm it with her. She just told me today, all right, put me on. So it would be ideal for someone that's articulate to be able to go back and forth. And so let me just, can we make a decision, like, should I notify you? You would have to actually put it in writing to Old Colony Elder Services of this nominee.
We have till the end of May.
Right, so
Yes.
I'll let you know if in fact, I'm going to talk to this other person again, because she actually reached out and she said she'd do it. And she would be glad to do it. She's very knowledgeable in all the service that we provide.
Okay, good. So we can wait until we hear from you and then move ahead?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Monpont Event LLC change. This is just a paperwork thing, I think.
We're actually going to hold on that one.
Oh, okay.
The reason being, they did submit one of the papers required. We've notified them, Pam notified them immediately that there were other requirements. They really lacked on what has needed to be done. They need to simply just change their business certificate. We've given them ample opportunity to do this. Our town clerk has been very willing to work with them. Pam has been great to work with them, and they're really not doing what's required. So at this point, we don't have all of the necessary paperwork, and I would say that we should hold off until we have all of that.
Are they going to be able to continue operating?
I think they've already changed the name technically. They have a new sign out front.
Well, I know that.
But they have not fulfilled the requirements of the town.
And I think somebody should tell them.
They are aware.
In danger of being shut down.
We've
for
told
not
them
having-
many times, we can't keep babysitting. These people have attorneys. We've advised the attorneys what needs to be done. If they don't do it, we can't. There's not much we can do. They have to follow the rules just like everyone else.
Good.
Is that sign even open yet? That side of that?
It's been open for a
Oh,
while.
it has?
They just changed owners. This is
But
the
I
old
didn't think that
Monpont
side was
Inn.
open, the lake side. I didn't think that function side was open.
I saw people there last week.
I saw people parking there, but I didn't know if they were going at 550. Because I didn't know if the function side was always dark. I don't either.
It's always that.
Can't seem to get
Yeah.
I contact them, they don't get back, or, yeah.
Is it?
So that's kind of fine, so maybe.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were operating.
Well, they're
Yeah.
not supposed to be if they are.
Is it worth putting a letter from the Board of Selectmen together to send to them, kind of outlining all the ways that they need to do, a checklist that they need to do before?
I wouldn't, only for the reason that Pam has been very cognizant of making them aware of what needs to be done.
Okay.
We treat every applicant the same. We notify them of what needs to be done. It's on them to do it. We can't do it for them. It's just not fair for us to do it, for them. If Pam hasn't notified them, many, many times, the town clerk has even gone out of her way to expedite the process and have them call her and email things, and because they're out of state and they're just not, they're not
Is
following the
it,
process.
is it worth a letter of consequence as to what would happen if they do not?
I don't know that we have anything we can do, right? Other than their licenses are right now invalid. So,
Well, so what it is we did the license, you have DBA Lakeside Building. Now it wants to change it to the Lake House. Now the sign up there says Lake House. I've told, when they had the application, I mentioned to them, you guys should have looked at that and said, oh, we don't want that DBA name. We want, yeah, it's been kind of going back and forth. Sue said, I need this business certificate and let me know what you want on it, and I'll email it to you, and then you can get it notarized because he's out of state. Well, once we have it, I'll present to the board.
So is this just for the right side of the building, not 550? That's,
His licenses are all tied together. He has a live exchange for Sunday and for a weekday, common vic license. They all say the DBA name. It's the alcoholic beverage license also that has that other DBA name. He wants to change it. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
okay.
I no, but I have been dealing with this lawyer, and he's been trying to get in contact with him also. And she can't. I said, well.
All right, so we'll just let that lie until...
Yeah, when they submit what they need to submit, we'll bring it back before you for approval. I think that's the best course of action.
Yeah, the board does have 30 days to act on it. That's the thing, so, but which is fine, but, they'll bring this into like the 18th of May. So at that point, we have to say yea or nay or something, because.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we have 2 road cut requests from Eversource. The first one is for a 4x6 road cut at 20 Holmes Street, and I think it must be for gas, to do gas service, yes. So, building, police, highway, everybody's had a shot at it, and they all okay it. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous, okay. And then the second one is 4x6 road cut at 36 Colby Drive, again, Eversource, to do gas maintenance service. Again, it's been okayed by building, police, highway, water, and conservation. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, just that one page. Here's the signature line. Okey dokey. So we are going to probably spend some time on the town meeting recommendations. So we'll need to do that. But before we get to that, can we just do our updates on the usual standing heads here? So on the MBTA action plan, my first question is, just to get it out in the open, we sent a letter 2 weeks ago to all of our representatives. Have we heard back from them?
No, not that I'm aware of. We have not heard
Okay.
back.
So I'm going to make a motion that we send an email now, or ask the town administrator to send an email directly to their accounts, attaching the letter that we sent to them already, asking them, are they going to respond to us, that we would like to have a meeting with them, and we are serious about this. And I would also suggest that we send that letter, or maybe by email, whichever you think is easiest, to the surrounding towns and see what their interests are. I do know Middleborough has already come up against this a little bit, and I found out recently that Lakeville has also. And so I think the only way we're going to be able to control this is by getting our representatives to do their job, which is to look out for our town, right? I mean, it's nice that they do all the things they do for the state or whatever that might be, but their primary goal, just like my primary goal, is to look out for the town of Halifax. That's what we're supposed to have as the #1 job. And I'm not seeing that they're doing that on the MBTA thing. So it's about time they did, and so that's why I would make that motion.
John, just a clarification, with other towns, should we send it to other Board of Selectmen in our area? Is that the plan?
Yeah. Well, town administrator, board of selectmen, whatever.
Okay.
Whatever. I just think, so years ago, a long time ago, I keep doing this, I apologize.
It's
But Years
okay.
ago, the old man story.
No.
We had the casino that went over a Middleborough, right? And it was a stupid idea. It was wrong, and the various towns all started getting hot and bothered about it, and then we were able to bring that under control.
Sure.
I think the MBTA, again, I don't have any problem with apartment buildings really, and I do think we need them in town here to some extent, but I do not like being told that we are somehow discriminatory because we won't put 750 units in the town of Halifax. That's ridiculous. And I think that our local representatives must have voted for this, and they better come in here and explain to you folks why they think that's such a darn good idea. So.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good plan. I think there's strength in numbers, so.
I do.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, go ahead.
Mary Gravity's 98 Clyde Boswell. Obviously, this already was voted on, so they already did kind of vote in favor of it. So now is the time to go to the Attorney General, go to the governor, or go somewhere else to fight for these towns? Because clearly those state representatives were in favor of this.
Well, so, speaking of the Attorney General, part of the letter that we wrote a couple of weeks ago attached an article where the new Attorney General has already come out very strongly, I'll put it. And the headline says, "Her warning is the sharpest yet that towns must follow the law to address denser housing or face consequences." So if you want to read the article, I have a copy of it here.
I did, Kathleen already sent it to me.
Huh? And,
She sent me her plan. She sent me Haley's plan and her budget and all of her explanations and how great it is that this is what we're doing. And that's why I relayed to her that this is ridiculous and our town can't handle it. So I was really looking forward to hearing what your result or what your response was from her.
so far, nothing.
Okay.
Attorney General Andrea Campbell said, whatever this was, morning, that those zoning rules are mandatory and that the state or outside advocacy groups may sue non-compliant towns. So that tells me they don't care what we think, right? And so the Attorney General is only going to be able to enforce laws that are on the books. She can't make up laws. Our state legislatures make laws. So I think we need to get them on board with, just do your job for us. I mean, all we want you to do is to look out for the town of Halifax, right? I mean, that's what they should be doing. And I don't see that they're doing it here, so I get hot about it. It's fun.
It's all right.
There's certain things I get mad about, that's one of them.
I'm with you.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, anything else on the MBTA action plan? Morse Brothers, I have a couple of points I want to make about it. So we are being inundated with emails and so on about Morse Brothers, and it's, there are big, long lists of this and that and everything else. But I want to make sure the town understands that we have taken, one or all of us, at one point or another, have taken every single one of those complaints seriously, and we've investigated them. And so far, nothing has come of it, okay? And I just want to let everyone know what we have been doing. So Cody and I took a tour of the place in March. There is no excavation going on in Morse Brothers. They're taking sand out of a hill, but they're not digging down into the Zone 2 water district. So there's nothing like that. On the permit issue, which is a continuous problem, we've asked our attorney, we've looked into it. It's an unsure thing as to how much control we can exercise over the agricultural use of land, right? And we just don't see that we have a very strong case to force them into anything other than some sort of litigation with the town, which we're not going to be able to control. So until a permit comes before us that is actual earth removal, like digging a ditch, that really we don't have much of a control over the agricultural things. They've been doing this in the land for a long time. We've had our engineer look at it, and they have been doing the sand removal, at least at some, maybe fits and starts, but for a very long time. It's nothing brand new. On the Zone 2 thing, yes, Morse Brothers is partly in Zone 2, as is part of the Lincoln Street neighborhood, by the way. I have spoken with the water department, the water superintendent, and have asked them specifically, is anything that they're doing there have anything to do with the wells over at Lincoln, over at the Y Camp? And the answer to that is no. Our well is 70 feet deep. The well, actually, we draw water from underneath the lake. The lake's only 20 feet deep, so it doesn't even draw off of the lake. It has no effect on that. And so what they're doing on the top there, whatever it is in terms of moving things around, has no impact on the wells or the Zone 2. In terms of effect on the lake, again, the water department has looked at it. There's no effect of moving sand on the top of that property. The lake, the wells are well below the lake. So it just doesn't affect the water. I know they're in Zone 2, but again, a lot of Lincoln Street is in Zone 2. It's just the way that area is, and you can't dig down into it. They're not doing that. So at least there's no evidence of it. Brown water. So this has come up a bunch of times where there's been somebody said, well, I have brown water from. I asked the water superintendent specifically about that. He said the issue with the brown water has to do not with the YMCA well, but with the Richmond Park well. And it has to do with there's too much magnesium in the water, and there's a filtration type system, which we are currently under orders by the federal DEP to fix that. And it's millions of dollars worth of work that has to be done and will be done.
We'll be going to town meeting for that too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's actually in the warrant. You're right.
Yep.
And the brown water, I've asked the water superintendent, said if you're getting the brown water, that's what it's from. It's got nothing to do with the pond or with whatever's going on in Morse Brothers. And finally, we've had complaints or issues bring up about the traffic on Lincoln Street when they've been removing sand off of that property. First of all, it seems to happen only in fits and starts, and it started in December because that's when they would be normally sanding their bogs or preparing to sand their bogs. There was another time in March rather, when they went back and did the loom, which they told us they were going to do. I will say this, that I completely get it. Lincoln Street is as wide as a driveway, and it is at least 200 years old. It definitely is a bad place for cars to be, but it is a public street, and public is allowed to use it. So they're not doing anything they wouldn't be doing or not allowed to do by driving on the road. They have been quite cooperative, I will say that. So Morse Brothers calls, they call the police department, they call either Cody or myself when they are going to start their trucks, when they're going to do that work. They've been courteous, I think, in terms of their hours. And they can't restrict them completely, but they have been basically doing it during business hours. They have been conscientious about traffic issues with school buses. They post the school bus schedules in the trucks so that the trucks are asked not to travel during those periods of time, and they keep the speeds down. In fact, the only complaint that I got from the police department was the truck was going too slow. So, I mean, you can't win sometimes, and and it's a half a mile. I mean, Lincoln Street's not that long, so even if it's going slow, it's going to get out of there pretty quick. The long and short of it is, if people continue to complain to us and send us letters and emails and everything else that they want to do, that's fine. That's what we're here for. But I can tell you that in the investigation that we have been doing and spent a lot of time on this since December, this is what, May, so that's 5 months. There's nothing to it. It's just not there. There's just nothing that they're doing that needs to be changed or addressed. And again, they've been very, very receptive to whatever issues. I talked to the head of the Morse Brothers guy the other day, and he said, if people have issues about what they think is going on there, I'll be glad to make an arrangement and go and visit with them, and they can see what we're doing. So, and I'll leave that open. If anyone thinks they want to go and see what is actually going on, contact me or Cody, and we will make an arrangement to have a discussion with them. The whole talk about putting truckloads of manure on the ground, first of all, it just didn't happen. They didn't bring anything in. And it was explained to me that it's the loom, and there's a certain process that you follow where you spread it out, and it sort of decomposes and makes into better soil. So I just wanted the board to understand and the town to understand that, you know, we have taken these complaints very seriously. The very first one, we had them in a big meeting up in the Great Hall in December. We have followed up with it over and over again. We will continue to look at it whenever there's an issue or a complaint, but to date, I find nothing that we need to criticize them for. So.
I'd like to take a second to thank you, Mr. Chair, for all your work. I mean, seriously, you've spent a lot of time on this. We do take the complaint seriously, and we've checked all our boxes. I mean, we've dealt with the EPA, we've dealt with an independent civil engineer, we've dealt with land council, we've kicked the tires from every angle.
That reminds me, DEP is also involved. They have been out to the site recently. They didn't tell us anything, but they're in the middle of an investigation. I don't think they're going to find anything that's out of line.
But I just want to commend you, John, and Cody, for all the work. You guys have spent a lot of time on this. And you take the complaint seriously from the town, and on behalf of myself, and I don't want to speak to Nadia, but thank you guys for all the work, because it's been a crush of work lately, and I just wanted to say thank you for what you've been doing.
Well, that's our update. Training for boards, we're still in the process of that?
Yep, no new updates for that.
All right. So does that bring us to the town meeting warrant, right?
So everybody should have received their warrant, or be receiving. I think we've heard a lot of people received them on Saturday and yesterday, so they're coming in. So we wanted to go through each of the articles, if the board wanted to discuss it at all, and make your recommendations, so we can have them for town meeting.
It is somewhat customary for, if you'll notice, the very first article.
Just going to grab copies of the warrants.
We will have notebooks, right, for town meeting?
Right, so, yeah, I haven't made those up yet, I have them ready to go.
Okay,
But I don't
just
know
wanna
how
be
much
sure.
sheet you guys want in there. I don't know if you guys want the exact things that are saying in the article, or you want the motions, because I know that one, I put them in there last year or the year before, we had took out the pages, because that's not what we were going to be saying. So the town council changed up the motions.
So I'm not sure what, well, Bert was here. Maybe Sandy has a suggestion.
So what we...
Sandra Nolan.
Sandra Nolan, town accountant.
What we usually do is have the article and then below it the motion that is going to be moved at town meetings in the binder. So you'll have the motion that is to be read.
I think that's important to have, because sometimes the motion needs to be amended or changed, but we should know ahead of time what it's supposed to say.
A couple of days before time, you know.
Yeah, that's fine. I just personally like to have the book there.
Right, yep, got them ready.
You'll have it.
And I know last year when I stepped in to be moderator at the end, it was an odd practice that for whatever reason, the Board of Selectmen thought they need to make all the motions. I don't intend to do that.
No.
I think whoever is proposing an article, it's their responsibility to make, we'll help them if they need, language or whatever, make sure that we have the written motion so they know what to say. But that's up to them. So. Okay, traditionally, I mean, if you look at the first article, it's to hear reports of town officers and committees. Almost no one ever does that, although sometimes the Board of Selectmen does. What does this board, you have a preference? I'll be glad to make a brief introduction as to where we stand.
I think that would be great. I think you being the chair and being a former moderator and easy on the eyes, I think it'd be great for you to take the first one.
All right. Article 2 is the wage and personnel. we are the Wage and Personnel Committee, so I guess we approve it. Who was going to speak on behalf of the Wage and Personnel? Have we decided that?
We did not discuss that.
All right. Well, I guess we could make this motion. We'll make the motion then.
Okay.
All right, who wants, one of you guys want to do that or no?
I could take it.
All right, John gets our,
Can I write this one?
Yeah, I'll let you do that.
All right.
You just bring that with you then.
All right.
Take the one from the house.
We'll have to trade you.
I'll give you the one I have in the
You can see
car.
that, that's
We
fine.
only got 103
That's it.
extras.
Article 3 is proposed by the Finance Committee. I mean, we don't have any, but unless somebody wants to speak to it, I don't know if we need to do anything about that. Article 4, the operating budget is again moved, I think, by the Finance Committee, right? Okay. Anybody want to talk about that at all, the operating budget? Nothing?
Yeah, it's self-explanatory, I think.
All right. Pages here. Okay, Article 5, proposed by the Board of Selectmen. This is the revolving funds.
Limits, yeah, the maximum.
Hmm?
The maximum spending amounts.
Yeah,
Revolving
right.
funds.
Okay, so I mean, unless you guys want to do it, I'm glad to do it.
I'll do it.
All right, we'll give this to Dasha. And Article 6 is a Finance Committee recommendation on the reserve fund. We don't need to, unless we have an opinion about it, but a pretty routine thing. Article 7, let's see, this is proposed by the Water Commissioners.
This is the water treatment plant upgrades. that
Yeah.
We just.
Okay, do we want to take a, I mean, I'm in favor of it, but we'll...
Would they propose it, John, or we would?
Yeah, proposed by the Board of Water Commissioners.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're saying who would speak to it, or?
Hopefully they would.
Yeah.
We'll have Bill Lindsay, the water superintendent, will be there.
Yeah.
It's a department head, right?
Yes, yes.
Article 8, let's see, the collective bargaining one, this is going to pass over probably.
No, we have to do this.
We have to do
This is putting the money aside.
Aside for
Oh, okay,
wage and
This is
personnel.
aside for all wage and personnel and all collective bargaining agreements.
okay.
So it's a total sum of money for all of our expected settlements with unions and wage and personnel.
Okay. Anybody have a preference? If not,
Who's up? You're up?
oh boy. Easy. Article 9, capital plan is proposed by the Finance Committee. Unless you guys have anything you want to say about it. Article 10 is the assessor's recertification. Again, that's up, I don't have any objection to it. But, Article 11 and Article 12, has been a Board of Selectmen thing for a long
Forever.
time. These are the Troy Guerin.
That's what they call them, yeah.
So who wants to be Troy Guerin this year? Anybody?
Those are big shoes to
Yeah,
fill.
so, no shoes being sold there.
I can do it if you'd like.
All right.
That's 11, yeah.
11 and
11 and
12.
12.
I don't think anyone's ever moved it
Other than Troy, I know. No.
Okay, 13 is Silver Lake Resource Officer.
That would likely be Paula Hatch, right?
Yeah, whoever. But unless the board has want to weigh in on it one way or another. 14 is the Silver Lake rooftop units replacement. Same thing. 15 is the county cooperative. I think Najee would be.
Najee's all over
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
sounds,
That's right up your alley, Mr. Agriculture.
We need a farmer. That's why we have a farmer.
That's it.
16 is the highway surveyor, $6,900 or $69,000 for the wood chipper.
Steve?
17 is proposed by the Finance Committee for stabilization. That's, again, routine. 18 is stabilization for the opioid settlement stabilization fund. I mean, I'll be glad to move it, but I'm going to defer to Cody on this one.
Okay.
That's all right. Just because I really don't know.
CH
I don't really know anything
JB.
about it. 19 is the same issue, so I'm glad to do it. I just, like I said, I'm going to have to defer on that. Article 20 is the pilot for River Street solar.
Sure.
And 21 is to approve an agreement, so these are matched.
They are not, no. So one of them is for 115 River Street, and this is just the authorization to negotiate. And the 21 is an actual pilot that town meeting had already given you authorization to negotiate through the Board of Assessors, which has been done. And it's just the affirmation of the actual pilot. Two different properties. 115 River Street is the one that we would be looking to negotiate. 107 River Street has been negotiated.
Okay, so let me start with 20. Does anybody want to make that motion?
Which one are we talking, John?
20? This would be the...
It's 115.
115.
115. Do we, just curious, do we want to, I know sometimes articles are linked, do we want to, if one is pulled, do we want to go with one or the other?
I don't think so. I don't want to create the confusion that they are linked because they are completely separate.
They are completely separate, right.
Completely separate.
Okay. I can take 20 and 21 if you'd like.
On 21 now, it says the Finance Committee does not recommend.
No,
right?
it says recommends.
Yeah.
No, on 21.
Oh, you must not have a...
Oh, I'm sorry then, okay.
Yeah.
Mine was different. Okay, so
And
Finance
that was a
Committee.
printout that you had given them before
Okay.
we,
Oh, yes, before they've done their
Yes.
recommendations.
Okay. All right, so John's got 21.
I'll take 20 and 21.
Let's see, 22, authorize the Board of Selectmen to negotiate the Hemlock Lane solar.
Naja says he's on that one.
All right, that's a good one.
That is
We're
a
all
good
in favor of that.
Excited for that one.
Yeah.
I'm jealous. I have article jealousy.
23, an act to increase the membership of the Board of Selectmen in the town of Halifax. Mary, you here? You want to
Mary's
talk to
here.
us about that?
Yeah, Mary Gravity, 98 Clyde, Bosworth. I know there was a preconceived notion that this was somewhat of a continuation from somebody else asking this in the past, but that's really not what this was about. This was somewhat, not personal, but I think I knew why John ran for selectman, and I know why you ran for selection, and nothing personal. I don't know why you ran, because I didn't hear anything about why you ran or what your vision was for the town or what you hope for the town or your history. So I'm not sure that the board of three really represents all of the town of Halifax. I feel like there's a percentage of us that may not be represented on that board. So that was my reason. It had nothing to do with anything else about anything in the past. It was just representing that there is a wide spectrum of people in Halifax that might not agree with everything you think, but that, and I don't know what you think. So that was just my concern. No, I'm not being facetious at all. I'm just saying, we all made our position super clear about who was for what and when or whatever when we were running for selectmen, and I didn't know anything about you, and I'd never met you before. Congratulations, I already told you that, we spoke before. But I was just saying, I'm not sure that maybe now that the town is somewhat a little bit different in composition than before, maybe it would be time to have more than 3 people, even if just 4, just one more person that we knew about what their vision was, what their plan was, what they were thinking, or maybe add a different person. That's all, that was my only thinking. It had nothing to do with anything in the past, just so you're clear.
Okay. My own personal opinion is 2 things. One, I think that after town meeting, one of our projects this year has to be, well, we have 2 projects. One is to get our human resources system going, whatever that's going to be, take care of the wage and personnel. The second one is, and Cody mentioned this to me a couple of weeks ago, we don't have a charter. I know we talked about it years ago. We should have a charter, and it might be time to revisit the government structure here, whatever that might be. And so I think in the future, whether it's remains an open town meeting or some other form of government or something like that, should all be on the table. But we're not there yet. We haven't done the study. In terms of this particular article, what I disagree with is the number. I don't think 5 is a magic number. I don't think 3 is. But 3 has been this way for now, and I'm pretty I think it works, usually works pretty well. And I think in terms of representation, it's an open town meeting, so everybody represents themselves. And the Board of Selectmen kind of runs what the town meeting tells us to do in between times. So I'm just not in favor of this. I don't think the number 5 is a magic number by any means. And I do think, if you want to talk about efficiency, the best number is 1, right? That's the best number. If you want to talk about complete democracy, then we would have a town meeting every week, and everybody would come in and have their opinion and vote on it, so on and so forth. So I think 3's work. I'm satisfied with it. That's my own opinion. So I don't know what the board's views are on it, but that's my view on it. I do appreciate the effort, 100%. And petition articles, although they're often a thorn in our side if we are government officials, but they are important and they're well done. So.
The thing I like about 3, Mary, is that 2's a quorum, right? So anytime we have an issue that we need to discuss, we have to do it here, And I don't want to speak for the board, but we take it pretty seriously. We don't talk about things behind closed doors. We do it so you can see. If you bump it up to 5, your quorum is then 3. So that doesn't stop me or any other member of the board from calling any of the other selectmen, not in front of you guys, hashing things out between the 2 of them, and then coming to meeting. So that's what I like about the 3, and I know you're saying we want a wider voice, but it would concern me where if I wanted to get somebody's opinion on something, I could do it without your eyes on it, and kind of put things in motion without you guys seeing it. So that's why I like 3, is that you guys are literally seeing the process unfold in front of you. So I would just be a little hesitant if we went to 5, then that you could have that happen.
Marcia, unless you have anything to add. I would move that the board not support Article 23, and if the board agrees, I'd be glad to speak to it.
I appreciate your efforts, Mary, but I think I'm with John on this one.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. So we're not going to support 23. Now, 24 is an interesting one also. I have a couple of questions about this, and since you're here, you might be able to answer them. First of all, does this require legislative change?
This would require, it would have to go to the ballot for the town.
24 does.
Yes, changing the positions would require a ballot question.
All right, but is the ballot then have to go, is it done then, or does it have to go to the state legislature to change whatever our...
I don't think it has to go to the state.
Because the selectmen already did.
It's not a special act. This is just, would be a changing it within our own.
My reasoning, John, just so you know, and I don't know if you've spoken to Cody, but he was very much in favor of this at the finance meeting. And actually, if you've asked, because I've been, I'm good friends with Sue Lawless and whatever, and I've heard over the years the huge struggle and the change with these jobs and whatever. My concern is we're now at a point where if Sue ever left, her assistant, who's been her assistant for a short time, doesn't live here. She could never be the town clerk.
Right.
You can be 18 and you can live in Halifax. Those are the only 2 requirements to be elected and to obviously be popular and to be elected to a position here. And I think we're in big trouble if she left or if Linda left or even if this highway surveyor left and we don't have anyone literally in a succession plan. I think we ran out of everybody. I think Linda is kind of the last, she's the last one that has come up through the ranks through the tax collector treasurer's office. And I think now, if we don't change it now where those positions get appointed, we could end up with seniors in high school that had nothing better to do than hold signs that they want to become the next tax collector or town clerk. So I think it's really important because those jobs they're not nothing.
Have you spoken with any of these people?
Yeah.
And are
Sue's
any
very
of them,
much in favor of it.
Not just,
she knows what that job
no, not just her, but the highway surveyor and everybody?
No, I did not, no.
I know the treasurer collector is in favor of it.
Mm-hmm.
The town clerk is in favor of it. and have not gotten the opinion of the highway superintendent.
Okay. Again, this is the same issue as the one before, one of the same issues, and that is that I do think our town government is archaic. It's old-fashioned, which is quaint, but not necessarily the best way to handle business. The only thing, at first I wasn't in favor of this, and then the more I thought about it, I agree with the reasoning 100%, is I do think that unlike even 25 or 30 years ago, these positions are very technical. A highway surveyor doesn't just pick up dead animals off the street, right? I mean, they bidding and a whole lot of things that a civil engineer should be doing. And then certainly the treasurer handles an awful lot of money and an awful lot of important decisions are made there. So I agree with you on that. So what I would be concerned with here, though, is well, this actually says, request the general court of the Commonwealth to enact legislation that would make these positions appointed. That's what the article says. So I guess we'd have to have those 3 steps, but the appointed authority is going to be the selectmen, I assume.
I'm sorry?
Would be the selectmen.
Yes.
So my only concern with that is I would want to try to figure out a procedure, and again, this might be something that we're going to hopefully be able to address in the next year, a way to make sure that whoever sits, because I'm temporary, right? We're all.
Oh, yeah,
we're all
bite your tongue. Bite your tongue.
Well, I sit this at the pleasure of the town, and I appreciate that. I don't own this chair. I certainly don't. But so anybody could be here at some point, and I want to make sure that incorrect influences don't address these problems.
I agree with that, but my concern is that if we don't do it this year, and say Sue or Linda left within this year, we wouldn't be able to appoint somebody. We would have to elect somebody.
Right.
And we have nobody in town that has the experience that I know of. I mean, we have a very small pool of adult working folks to begin with. I mean, we don't have, 90% of the people are already employed. So to lure somebody, and again, it would be, anyone that left, in my opinion, would be because the salaries aren't what they are in a lot of the other towns, and I think it's very possible that if these people, they're very experienced, they could go to another town, then we would be stuck with an election, and I don't know how that would go. That's what makes me concerned, because I think those are a real possibility.
So that's saying the people of town can't pick somebody.
Just have to take everything's recorded, so
Bill Pond,
Bill Pond, 40 Oak Place.
Thank you.
No, I would be definitely against that, what you're saying. I want to elect my clerk. I want to elect the people that run my town.
But the point is that we don't have, like Sue Lawless has been a town
The
clerk.
point is you want to put somebody in there that you want.
Okay, well, folks, wait.
I'm sorry.
This isn't a debating society.
No, I think
we need to make a decision, so we're trying to get information. But
I think it's just going to require qualifications, that's all, and I don't think it can be.
Okay, Sandy?
I think that these are professional positions. They're not positions that can easily be filled by someone who just walks in off the street. You need someone who has some municipal experience and knows how town government runs for all of these positions. I also think that we could put in a policy where you have a search committee, and with that search committee, you use 2 or 3 people from the public who are not already in the town government, members at large, or however, citizens at large.
I think, I agree with that, and I think, so I see the point here, but the only, like I said, I think, assuming this passed, it would be probably a year or 2 before it would actually go into effect, so who knows what's going to happen in between time, but we would need to address our form of government in addition to that, I think. I think this is a step. I don't think it's the, so. Does the board have any, support it, not support it?
It's tough because there's 2 very good sides to the argument. Mr. Pond's, take that the townsfolk should be able to pick their people. But to your point, Sandy, the jobs are getting more and more technical by the day. I liked what we did with our fire chief, where we had a search committee. We had members, from different folks from all walks of life, including, you know, random townsfolk, citizens at large. So again, I hate to sit the fence on this, but I wouldn't be opposed to doing it. But again, I almost feel like we should put it to the people. I don't even know if that's possible. But, you know, have an
That's what
an
we're
open meeting.
doing at town meeting.
Yeah, and let the folks say
But
what
I
they
think you
want to
guys
do.
need to have a suggestion. I don't think you guys can leave this as no recommendation.
No,
Because I feel like
Sure.
it's a big deal. And if it's gonna be something that the town is gonna support, it's gonna come from you guys saying that we now recognize these positions are professional, they need educational experience. I mean, like Cody said, there are very, very few towns that elect their treasurer collector, almost none. And very, very few elect their town clerk. These aren't, like I said, they handle the voting. I mean, this is a big deal. They handle, you know, the honesty and the integrity and everything of the voting. You can't just have somebody want to hold a sign, and I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
No, it's valid point.
But I think you guys, whether you take a stand against it or not, I just think that if we don't start a process now, it's gonna take a long time. And if there's a way we can put a clause in it that the people that are in those positions now will not get replaced until, I don't know if you can do that, or if they would be the top person considered, or they would be, do you know what I mean? Because if their term comes up next year, Sue and Linda's term comes up next year, they would be up for election. If those positions now become, we've decided they're gonna be appointed, they would have to be interviewed and screened. It would have to start at that point.
Right.
And then they would be hired. You know what I mean? Or appointed as that job instead of saying,
This kind of requires, maybe we should look into this if you can, because it says an act of the legislature, so I suppose the legislation could say, you know, current residents or whatever, get to finish their terms, I suppose.
They would, they would, that we wouldn't even have to state that. That's how they would, any elected
Oh, the
term would
term would
continue
continue.
through the term, and changes would be in effect after
Yeah.
the term is
And
finished.
then, I mean, this would require changes to wage and personnel, which hopefully we change that anyway, and all of that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Cody, too, so we're lucky that those three folks that we're talking about do great work. If someone's elected, and let's say it's a train wreck, we really have no recourse.
No recourse.
Somebody gets into we could recall, but I know that's very hard to do, so.
When's the last time we did a recall?
Exactly. So that makes me a little nervous too, where, you know, you get somebody in, like to Mary's point, that might not be overly qualified to do the job, and they're in there.
We've had that happen in the past where the certain people haven't been, but again, if you're an elected official like we are, you just don't show up for the next 3 years, nothing that can be done about it other than a recall.
Right.
And that's, again, a complicated thing, so, I mean, the only thing I don't like about it is just that I hate to do things piecemeal. I do agree that it should be done, so I think I would be in favor.
I know.
So, but.
It's tough, because now it's such a,
No?
it's not just a small job anymore.
It's not a small job at all, especially when you talk about the treasurer's office. I mean, I think they
I just
have
think, yeah, I just think
bonding,
this timing right now where I just think the timing right now is if either one of them left, we are in serious trouble, or any three of them, because I don't think they're like in the past when Barbara Gaynor was the town clerk, she was, you know, bringing Sue along, and Sue was doing the classes, and if she wasn't there, it would be, okay, well, she's almost ready to go, even though she still had to train on the job. There's no one in that position now that could do that, because that woman does not live in Halifax, so even if she was fantastic and knew everything and had amazing municipal experience, she couldn't take that job. We couldn't elect her. So the same with Linda. I don't know who I don't know if the people under her are all from Halifax or not, but we'd be in the same situation.
See it?
I'll make one more point. We did lose a very qualified assistant treasurer to another town who, had it been an appointed position, most likely would have been appointed treasurer collector. And she had been working for the town for over 25 years in the treasurer's office.
The same can be with a highway surveyor. I mean, really, you know, running the snowplows and cutting the grass is one thing, but that's only a small part of what he really does now. There's a lot of budgetary things, there's a lot of grants and
you lose a lot of the experience if you're not able to go to the people underneath because they don't live in the town.
Oh, right.
And, you know, I think Mary has a point. It needs to start now, because it's not, okay, we go to town meeting, it passes, we're good to go. We go to town meeting, it passes, then we still have to go to the ballot and get that to pass.
Which the ballot won't be for a whole nother year, because it's not on this year's
Right,
ballot.
it can't be on this ballot, it has to be on a ballot in May.
Right.
And then if that passes, then we start the appointment. So I believe because the collector, the treasurer collector and the town clerk will be on the ballot in 2024, that if they got elected, that would hold true. They would stay and fill out their 3-year term before we started appointing. We would want it written in that way.
What do you think?
I mean, I'd be okay with it as long as we, I don't know if we can incorporate a subcommittee language or something, and I don't know if that, has to officially be in the article, but I just know that there are a lot of people that are more plugged in and smarter than I am that I would like to bring into the fold, so it's
in
not...
terms of interviews.
In terms of interviews, in terms of the selection process, where it's not the three of us commanding from on high, where we've checked with townsfolk, we've checked with folks that are kind of involved in the area of expertise.
But I think you guys have done that a lot with almost
We
all
have,
the positions.
yeah,
You've
no,
done
we
that
have.
the
So-
last year with almost all of the key.
So as long as we stay that course, and like John says,
Yeah.
like John says, we're not here forever, right? So I would just hate to see a board down the future not be open to that.
An issue that bothers me too, but I do think if this passes a town meeting and passes a year from now in the election and finally goes through the State House or whenever it gets done, hopefully by then we'll have maybe a charter or maybe a better organization, in terms of human resource things that we definitely are lacking in, and then that might help it. So I was on the fence with it, but and again, the only thing I don't like about it, I hate doing things piecemeal, but this is, I can see why we can get started on it. An election comes up and, it's the will of the people, but still, it, doesn't necessarily always pick the best candidate, so. I don't know, I'll make a motion that we recommend Article 24.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll put it on my agenda to speak to, all right? Okay, the last one is 25, and that is changing the police chief to...
strong chief.
I hate to use the word weak and strong, but that's how the legislation is. So basically, the difference being that currently, the Board of Selectmen acts as police commissioners, so we are responsible for the details of the police department operation, and that would be, which we don't usually do. We do what the police chief tells us to do, but it could be, policies, it could be staffing, it could be any of that kind of thing. As opposed to what the fire department does, which is under the other statute, where the fire chief reports, is responsible to the Board of Selectmen, but he's directly responsible for hiring, for policies and that kind of thing. That's what this change would be. I haven't heard from the proponent of the article as to why they want to do this.
Bert was just here.
I saw Bert Gainer earlier.
Bert was here. He left.
So, I guess I would just say I don't have a position on it at this point. I don't know that I would. I can see, I see the upside of it in the sense of, I know this board wouldn't do it, but who knows what future boards might do in terms of interference where they really don't belong. So that would kind of at least put a step in that way, so. But we really don't have to take a position on it until.
Yeah, I'd just like to hear, to your point, John, I'd like to hear why they're presenting it.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with putting our police chief and our fire chief on even ground. Because again, back to my point where the police chief knows a lot more about how to run a department than I do.
Well, yeah, that's true, but also, so the Board of Selectmen is actually the hiring authority, right? That's why we do the interviews, right?
Sure.
Which is, I think, a good thing to have them in public, but nevertheless, depending on, it could happen, again, I don't think this board's gonna do that, but it could happen that this board changes and the hiring process becomes political, you know? And I can see why that would be more of an issue. I don't see us doing that, but, you know, like I said, we always have to remember that we are temporary.
Yeah,
You know?
carrying the baton.
You may be temporary like Troy Guerin for 30 years, or whoever was here last spring for 2 weeks. It could be either way, but still we are temporary, so. But I think maybe we'll just hold on this until.
Yeah, I'd like more information as to what the impetus is for it.
Okay. Article 26 is just the election. We in favor of that. Okay, anything else that we need to take up? Do we need an executive session tonight?
Very brief, yeah.
Oh, okay. So that will conclude our public session. All of this stuff?
Just the 2 items.
Which one?
I've seen you. Good seeing you. Good seeing you.
All right. I'll move that we go into executive session pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions and preparations for negotiation with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. And secondly, that we go into executive sessions regarding the firefighters, highway, mixed unit, patrol officers, and sergeant pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, as discussing strategy with respect to collective bargaining in an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town. That'd be my motion.
Second.
Mr. Nezarella?
Yes.
And Mr. Seelig?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno, yes. We will not be coming back into open session.